Live from KSAT 12, the 6 o'clock news starts right now.
After nearly 3 years, a grand jury has indicted multiple people in connection to the shooting death of 4-year-old D'Urvion Whitley, a boy who was at his east side home in the 200 block of Hub when it was riddled with gunshots.
One of those shots hit and killed D'Urvion. Jeffany Gray has been following this case and joins us from the Bexar County Sheriff's Office. And Jeffany, we're hearing that more suspects are involved here.
Myra, that's right. A grand jury indicted 4 people in connection with this shooting, but San Antonio police believe there are 2 others that are also involved. Now, those 2 people include, they're looking for 26-year-old Michael Woodard and 38-year-old John Chapman, both wanted on outstanding murder and deadly conduct warrants in relation to D'Urvion's murder. 27-year-old Terrell Chase, 32-year-old Todd Hill, and 28-year-old Quentin Phillips are all being charged with murder, felon in possession of a firearm, and deadly conduct for the shooting, which happened July of 2017. Those gunmen are accused of firing 65 shots at D'Urvion's home, injuring his mother and killing him. Another suspect, 29-year-old Dakota Peppers, has also been charged in connection with this crime. Now, again, police still searching for Woodard and Chapman. They're asking anyone with any information to call SAPD. That number is 210-207-7273. Jeffany Gray, KSAT 12 News.
Thank you, Jeffany. It's help for renters, local businesses, our area workers struggling with the financial impact of COVID-19. We're talking about mostly federal money given through programs under, quote, Bexar County Strong, end quote. And today, Bexar County staff updated commissioners on how it's going. Garrett Berger talked with the Director of Economic and Community Development for Bexar County about the impact and some of those dollars and where they're going.
As small and micro businesses struggle through the economic downturn from the pandemic, hundreds are looking for help through a Bexar County grant program. The grants are divided between precincts, and there's another 3 days to apply.
It's not a first come, first served based program. So even if they are able to get their application in, just at 4 o'clock on June 19th, they'll make it, and they could be pulled for the lottery.
Like the city, the county's also doling out rental assistance, with eviction proceedings restarting, unemployment benefits possibly shrinking back down, and stimulus checks drying up. They expect the need for that assistance will only grow.
And then we've also seen unemployment rise, so more people are going to be in need of that assistance in the future.
County staff also hope to get contracts approved before July to get a workforce development program up and running with Workforce Solutions Alamo at its center. They need to get things in place soon so they can spend the federal dollars before a December 30th deadline.
We are on a very short timeline. It's been a 6-week progress putting this together, which would normally be a 6-month project.
If you want more information on some of those programs to help struggling residents, you can visit the Bexar County website at bexar.org/ECD. Garrett Berger, KSAT 12 News.
An issue that Bexar County Judge Nelson Wolf has been especially vocal about is the need for people to wear masks. We reported last week he urged Governor Greg Abbott to allow local jurisdictions to make the decision whether to require face masks. On Saturday, Governor Abbott responded saying he did not think that was necessary and would not do it. Consistently throughout a press conference today, Governor Abbott urged people to wear masks, saying it is one of the 3 main strategies to slow down the spread of COVID-19, but he stopped short of mandating it. Judge Wolf has not been the only county judge in Texas to complain about the governor allowing masks to be a choice.
The county judge, whether it be the county judge in Dallas or elsewhere, they do have the ability to impose fines not for face masks, but for other strategies. For example, the types of gatherings that people gather at in certain locations, they may not be in compliance with the protocols and hence would be subject to fines. And even though Judge Jenkins or any other local official has had the authority to impose those fines, they haven't lifted a finger to do so.
During today's press conference, the governor mentioned reports showing that in several counties, the majority of positive cases since June were in people under 30 years old. He said the sources have not been pinpointed, but he believes it is directly related to Memorial Day crowds and gatherings and bars and restaurants that are not following protocols. Yesterday, TABC warned those businesses that violations will result in 30 to 60-day license suspensions. We now know the name of a man shot and killed on the far northeast side overnight. 42-year-old Frederick Nesloni was shot while driving along Loop 1604 near Bulverde Road a little after midnight. According to police, they got a call for a shooting and a crash. We're told Neslony and a woman were headed west when someone pulled up next to them and shot him in the head. Their truck crashed into an off-duty officer's vehicle who was working a construction zone. The woman was taken to a nearby hospital for minor injuries. The off-duty officer not hurt. So far, no arrests.
San Antonio homicide investigators looking for leads in a 2-week-old murder case on the city's east side. 48-year-old Charles Pryor shot and killed outside his home in the 3400 block of Action Lane. It was the night of May 31st when it happened. According to police, Pryor was outside when some sort of vehicle pulled up and the people inside it started shooting at him. He died by the front door of his home. Tips that lead to an arrest could be worth up to $5,000 from Crime Stoppers.
New at 6, a man who commandeered and crashed a Converse police car last fall was in court today asking that his bond be reduced. Xavier Johnson's bond had been set at $250,000 in one of 3 unrelated robbery cases. Paul Venema explains as he takes us through this bond reduction hearing.
This is where Xavier Johnson's escape with a Converse police car ended. He crashed the car. Though today's bond reduction hearing on Zoom wasn't for this case, prosecutors asked Judge Jefferson Moore to consider it as he reviewed the bond reduction motion.
The officer tried to stop him, and he ends up dragging this officer in his patrol vehicle, injuring the officer.
Stout said that Johnson is a violent criminal with strong gang ties and has several other cases pending. He's jailed on bonds in 3 unrelated robbery cases. His lawyer argued that the bonds in those cases are excessive.
In my motion, I asked the court to reduce the bonds to $35,000 for each of the 3 robberies.
The motion is denied if there is not a condition of GPS full house arrest. I now add that as a condition of bond.
Judge Moore set Johnson's bond for all cases at $275,000. The Converse case is pending. No trial date has been set. Paul Venema, KSAT 12 News.
In New at 6, when we were all ordered home during the start of the pandemic, there were fears that this would result in an increase in at-home child injuries, including child abuse. Now the numbers for March and April are coming in, and the University Hospital's Trauma Center found a troubling trend, as well as other ripple effects. Ursula Perry breaks down the numbers from University Health System.
There's good news from the stay-home order. The number of traumas caused by vehicle crashes declined dramatically. 2019 numbers for March and April averaged around 60. This year, we had half that many, down to around 35. It's what happened to the number of gunshot wounds, however, that caught the eye of University Hospital.
Is this really truly a trend, or is it just something that, like, next month we're going to drop back down again? But when we do see such a huge spike, it's really double the number that we normally have in other months.
Here's what she's talking about. In 2019, there were 3 children injured by gunshot wounds in March and 2 in April. In 2020, during the stay-at-home orders, there were 6 in March and 9 shot in April. Some were no doubt accidental, some were not. But the doctor and others in the community say it's an indication we need to work harder to keep kids safe from guns.
And it is difficult to not be able to socialize as much with your family members or your social support network. And so I think it does contribute to the additional injuries.
It's important to note that at University Hospital's adult and pediatric level 1 trauma center, that even without the huge jump this year in firearm injuries, there has been trending since 2016 that shows this is a problem that is not going in the right direction. Ursula Perry, KSAT 12 News.
A big honor for San Antonio Fire Chief Charles Hood, named Fire Chief of the Year by the Metropolitan Fire Chiefs Association. Chief Hood received his award this morning at Public Safety Headquarters during a ceremony attended by the mayor, the city manager, and fire command staff. The Metropolitan Fire Chiefs Association normally holds an annual conference where that award would have been given at a much larger ceremony, but due to the coronavirus, that wasn't possible this year. Chief Hood says he's happy to share the award with the city of San Antonio.
Take a live look outside with live cam right now, 89 degrees. At 5 o'clock, we showed you pretty substantial rain shaft out there. So we know areas are getting downpours.
Yeah, and we have had a few downpours out there here and there across our area, but by and large, very isolated in nature, especially on the west side of town. We had some of that activity. Now, the aquifer is down a whole foot today, so we're about a half a foot above average at 663.2, so still above the critical 660 level in terms of stage 1, but it's dropping quickly. Here's a quick look at the radar, and you can see some of that activity still in the northwest side of town, Leon Springs, even crossing over the county line just south of Bernie. Not a whole lot to speak of, though, otherwise. Temperatures right now, some 80s and lower 90s. Floresville is 92, New Braunfels 93, 88 though in Bandera, and Comfort at 87. So through this evening, the stray showers coming to an end. We lose the daytime heating from the sun. We lose these showers. Otherwise, increasing clouds later tonight. Of course, still very muggy and humid. Temperatures gradually getting down into the 70s, and tomorrow we'll start our day at 72 with some clouds, then bright sunshine most of the day, making it to 93 in the afternoon. Humid. And yeah, the off chance of a pop-up shower, and there could be even more of them in the days ahead, particularly into the weekend. We'll have your full forecast coming up later.
Tuesdays and Thursdays are when we get our updates from the city and the county on our latest coronavirus and COVID-19 numbers. Let's go live to City Hall now.
So that we have Dr. Kurian, Dr. Anita Kurian, as well as Dr. Junda Wu here with us in the audience. Tonight, we are reporting a fairly alarming rate of incline in our case rate. Here we have 436 new cases of COVID-19 tonight. That brings us to 4,873 cases in Bexar County. This is the biggest single-day increase of reported new cases. We don't use the state's reopening plan as an excuse to throw out the good habits we've been practicing to contain this spread. The virus is still out there. We need everyone to keep their physical distance. Don't host large gatherings. Wear a mask if you're within 6 feet of someone not in your household. Let's all do our part. I do want to go through the hospital numbers as well, because as we've been telling you from this very start, it's not just about the case rate, it's also about the impact to hospitals. And so we are seeing a trend there that we don't like. And today we have a total of 212 patients in the hospital. Of those, 82 are in the ICU and 41 are on ventilators. Here's another big takeaway from hospital data. A review of the data in hospitalization status and time period before the 25th of May and after the 25th of May reveals the following. Prior to May 25th, the average age of cases was 43 and a half years. Since May 25th, that has changed. It's decreased significantly to just over 35 years of age. The average age of those who were hospitalized prior to May 25th was 55 and a half years old. And since May 25th, it has declined significantly to just about 48 years old. Some testing criteria and methodologies have changed over time, and this may contribute to the change in age of individuals not hospitalized. However, it should not affect those who are in the hospital. The hospital system capacity does remain stable, though, and that is a good thing. But we need to make sure everyone understands the virus is out there. We're not done fighting this virus, and this virus is not done going through our communities. So we need everyone to do their part, slow the spread of this virus. We can contain this if we remain vigilant in what we have been talking about from the very start and the guidance from our public health professionals. I'm going to talk about the progress and warning indicators as we do every week, but first I'm going to toss it to Judge Wolf.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor, and thanks for reminding everybody what they should be doing. We are in probably the worst crisis we've had, but it is by far the worst crisis we've had since this started. The mayor gave you some numbers on what people are in the hospital today, but just to kind of relate that to just say 15, 16 days ago, on June the 1st, we only had 93 people in the hospital, 212 now. We only had 39 in ICU at that time. Now we got 82. And we had 20 on ventilators, and now we have 41. I think Dawn is saying that we're doubling in a 20-day period of time now. Just take those numbers and double it again in 20 more days. If we don't do something to cure this, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. And it was pretty clear what the mayor is saying. It's not rocket science. It's amazing to me that more people aren't doing this, and that's, things we talk about over and over. The face covering, the 6-foot distancing, sanitizing everything. If we would just start doing that and everybody would do it, I think we'd get our way through this. We know we got to work. We know that we only can consume what we produce jointly. And when you're not producing anything, that means everything goes to heck. So we've got to work, but we've got to start working a lot more smart than we are. Now, to give you an example of why this is spreading, and if you take the nursing homes, which right now we're doing very, very well, good on it, not a big spread or anything. You take the jail, we're down to only 30 people now that have got positive. And so both of those are stable populations. It's those of us that are moving around that are not taking the precautions that are spreading it. And it may be young people. The governor today made a lot of remarks. Well, it's young people that are violating this. Well, what happens, the young people violate it, then they can transfer it to somebody else that may have an underlying health problem or be elderly, and that person ends up in the hospital, and that person may end up passing away. So it's a dangerous situation, and we just got to be a lot more responsible if we're going to get through this.
Thank you, Judge. And the governor did refer to enforcement and potential strict enforcement on establishments. And what we can do to ensure that we continue to open up the economy and enjoy life here in San Antonio is all do our part. The simple things, the hygiene, sanitation, wearing a face mask, physical distancing. We can continue to open up if everyone does their part and does as the health professionals guide us. Now, I do want to spend some time going into the indicators now. As we mentioned last week, a team of health professionals is closely watching a series of progress and warning indicators that you can track at home at covid19.sanantonio.gov to give you a sense of how we're doing overall in the battle against this pandemic. So let's go through those now. Progress indicator number 1 is the number of COVID-19 cases by symptom onset date. And that, as you see, shows a notable rise in the number of daily cases. Let me explain this graphic for a second. You'll notice how it does not show the current spike in cases that we've reported just today. The reason for that is that the data on this graphic lags by 5 days. Remember, this is plotted by symptom onset date, not the date that we report the cases to you, which, ebb and flow depending on the labs. But even so, this graph still shows that we are currently not close to in any way meeting our target of a sustained decline in cases over a 14-day period. And unfortunately, we instead are seeing a sustained increase in cases over the last couple of weeks. Let me go to progress indicator number 2. This is our testing capacity, which does remain in good shape. We continue to have testing capability well above our goal, which was set at 3,000 tests per day. With the rising case numbers, we've obviously seen an increase in demand for testing, and so we want to remind you, if you're having trouble booking an appointment, to go ahead and call, or you can go to the website covid19.sanantonio.gov. You can also get options by going to 311 and selecting option 8, calling 311 and selecting option 8. Labs are operating with necessary supplies and personnel in place, but the increase in testing demand sometimes does cause delays at the lab level. Let me go to progress indicator number 3. This is our case and contact tracing capacity. Before I go through this one, I need to say we need your help. There is a sizable portion of cases and contacts that our public health professionals have not been able to verify simply because we're not getting callbacks. The public's response to our public health staff is absolutely vital in our efforts to contain this virus. So if you've tested positive for COVID-19 and a contact tracer calls you, please answer. You can expect a call if you are positive from a number that begins with 210-207. So please pick up the phone if you get that call so we can make sure we do the proper contact tracing investigation. You'll also note that because of the acceleration of cases over the last few days, we've gone from in the green to now in the yellow. We are getting as many folks trained up as possible, but our need for contact tracers has within 2 weeks gone from 25 contact tracers up to 100. And so we're getting those folks onboarded immediately. Progress indicator number 4 is the COVID-19 hospitalization trends. This one is the most important in my mind because it shows you the number of in that data, as well as people on ICU and on ventilators due to the COVID-19 related complications. Now, when we talked about flattening the curve, it's all about being able to treat the infections that arrive in our community. And so if we reach a level to where our hospital capacity gets stressed, we're no longer able to meet that demand. And so it's very vital that everybody does their part to slow down the spread and contain the virus as much as possible. Those are the progress indicators, and let me go through a few warning indicators right now. Number one is the time it takes to double the number of COVID-19 cases in our community. We had been doing fantastic for last many weeks, couple of months in fact. Our doubling rate, however, has gone from 4.5% now up to 9.3% over the last week. Our doubling rate has made an alarming
the biggest single-day jump since we have been in the midst of this pandemic. 436 new cases reported in the last 24 hours. That's 4,873. And perhaps most alarming to me, 212 hospitalizations, which is up dramatically from what we've seen just last week.
And of those 82 people currently in the ICU, we saw 44 new cases yesterday. That huge jump to 436 today. Bexar County Judge Nelson Wolff saying that this crisis is at its worst point for locally so far in this epidemic or pandemic rather, and continuing to urge people not to throw out what they call the state's best practices as the state is now in its third phase of reopening. Of course, those being the face mask wearing, hand washing, and social distancing, urging people as these numbers tick up not to gather in large places where it's going to be crowded, and social distancing is really not an option.
We're also seeing the age of the people that are hospitalized going down. It was 55 and a half before Memorial Day. It is now down to the age of 48 is the average right now of the people that are hospitalized. Mayor Ron Nirenberg saying, quote, "We're not done fighting this virus," end quote, and the county judge saying it's a dangerous situation. We've got to be a lot more responsible. And he's saying that if the younger generation is out and about, and they could be the spreaders of this disease, even though they may not have the symptoms of this disease. So yesterday we heard from UT Health San Antonio President William Henrich sounding an alarm about what he thinks is coming. It's certainly echoed today by the mayor and county judge when you see 436 new cases just today.
And I think it's important to note that the dates in which we begin to see the age of patients trend down, Memorial Day, that's the date that they noted in that press conference just now, May 25th. Prior to, that's when the age of patients, the average age was 43. After Memorial Day, now at 35. We heard the governor earlier today talking about how the biggest spike in cases is now under the age of 30 in patients. Again, linking that back to Memorial Day gathering.
Yeah, we're seeing the ages go down with hospitalization rates, which I talked about, and the people who are testing positive, which is what you talked about. The capacity is stable right now, but when you talk to people in the San Antonio medical community, again, I bring up Dr. Henrich yesterday. I've spoken to Dr. Ruth Bergeron, who is our Thursday guest. I talked to her yesterday. There is a lot of concern about emergency rooms being overrun and the hospital capacity continuing to shrink. So what they are asking people to do is not go to emergency rooms for a test. There are other places where you can go and get a COVID-19 test. Freeman Coliseum, you can set up an appointment to go there. Texas Med Clinics have them. A lot of the clinics in town have them. So they're asking people not to go to emergency rooms to get COVID-19 tests.
Again, the biggest takeaway today was the biggest single day increase in positive cases, 436 new COVID-19 cases in Bexar County today. We'll be right back.
Pro football coverage powered by Davis Law Firm.
The Dallas Cowboys Hall of Fame game against the Pittsburgh Steelers slated for August the 6th in Canton, Ohio, more than likely will be canceled. That's according to the governor of Ohio. Its plans now appear for a short NFL preseason, and the first casualty appears to be the Hall of Fame game due to the coronavirus, even though they stopped short of canceling it altogether today.
Having a crowd that size, I think, is highly unlikely. Certainly, it could not occur today. It would be very dangerous to do it today. Probably the last things that are going to be able to be open are the big crowds. particularly when you have big crowds that are close together. So we have to continue to look at it, make decisions as we move forward. But if the question was, could that event occur today, the answer would be no. It would just be extremely dangerous.
Dallas Cowboys star running back Ezekiel Elliott is upset that his health is on the front page. About everybody knows he has tested positive for the coronavirus. Zeke is upset after someone leaked his COVID-19 positive test to the media, who, as he puts it, hounded his agent Rocky Arsenault until he finally confirmed the positive test to the NFL Network. But he says he's not the only member of the Dallas Cowboys, and for that matter, the Houston Texans, that have tested positive for the coronavirus, but the only one who's been named has now been confirmed. No player has tested positive that has visited the team facilities, which are limited players who are needing rehab. He has been seen only in red, white, and blue for the past 20 years, where he won 6 Super Bowls with the New England Patriots before he signed this offseason as a free agent for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, for the first time, the Bucs have unveiled Tom Brady in a Tampa Bay uniform, and here is your first shot. Brady will make his regular season debut against New Orleans on September the 13th. Our San Antonio Mission is announcing today they will partner with McCombs Ford West and the San Antonio Area Baseball Coaches Association, hosting a special high school baseball senior celebration Thursday at the Wolf. The doubleheader will begin at 4 p.m. with the matchup of players from San Antonio area sub 6A and private schools, followed by the nightcap at 7 p.m. and will feature players from 6A area schools. And when it's all said and done, fans will be treated to a fireworks display on Thursday night. The sub 6A private school contest will have Team Liberty against Team Freedom, with Divine head coach George Villa managed at Team Liberty, and Team Freedom to be managed by McCullum High School's Jeffrey Curtin. In the 6A showdown, Team Stars, led by Taft coach Tim Goins, and Team Stripes, managed by MacArthur's Tim Alfieri. This is in addition to the Flying Chocolates participating in the Texas Collegiate League. They'll run through June 30th and August the 2nd.
For our front office and for the fans that come out, we're going to run these games just like it's our AAA team. And, I think our fans are accustomed to what we do here at the ballpark. And so that's what we want to do. We want to provide these kids an opportunity to see what professional baseball is like. And, that's the way we're going to treat this.
All right, here's a look at the matchup for this doubleheader here. You can see this is on Thursday, July 2nd at Wolf Stadium. The 4 p.m. will be Team Liberty and Team Freedom. 7 p.m. Team Stars and Team Stripes. That's a 6A. Tickets are on sale Thursday, June the 18th. Admissions.com. $12 for adults, $8 for students. So we get to see some live sports and more importantly, live baseball at the Wolf.
And great for these high school kids, too.
Indeed.
Thanks, Greg.
We'll be right back.
They have come under criticism across the country for the way they protect, quote, bad officers, end quote. Here in San Antonio, police unions have also become a focal point for change. San Antonio Mayor Ron Nirenberg and San Antonio Police Chief William McManus have leveled those protecting bad officer claims against the San Antonio Police Officers Association. So what does the union have to say? Tonight in this KSAT Q&A, we find out. Mike Helly has been the president of the San Antonio Police Officers Association since 2008, re-elected to that post 5 times. He joined us live. Mike, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Let's first start with your reaction to those claims. Police unions across the country, especially here in San Antonio, under so much scrutiny right now. So what's been your thoughts to all of these allegations over the last couple of weeks?
Sure. Thank you for giving me voice to speak out against it. One, I think it's offensive to me because in a way that policemen do not want bad cops on the department. No way, shape, or how. We don't want them on here. The only thing that our organization does and the contract does is lay the framework for the process. And that is it. I don't judge guilt or innocence. It's not my job to interject through the process what guilt or innocence in that process, and the contract speaks of no guilt or innocence, or whether or not the misconduct to its levels or degrees, whether or not it's guilt or innocence. It's only the process. And if you would just do a deep dive into each one of the charges that at least the chief had put out, you'll probably see an underlying trend of exactly why those cases get overturned and why they get dismissed. And the responsibility and the blame lays squarely on his shoulders. Not the collective bargaining agreement, not civil service, none of those things. It's his responsibility. And because a lot of it I don't want to feel like I'm railing on the chief. He does certain areas, he does very well. But when it comes to discipline and the process, he's completely incompetent in that area. I've expressed this to the now current city manager. Since 2010, I've been telling him about the mistakes that this chief continues to make throughout all the years. So even if you wanted to take it at a case by case by case, we could talk about each one of those criteria. And if you look at those cases, the arbitrator, who has no attachment to the organization, no attachment to the city, is a third party that looks at the case and makes a determination based upon all the facts. Just doesn't see it the way that the chief does, because a lot of times determinations are based upon some kind of political seeing that he might see that he has to terminate the employee because of political purpose, or in fact, internal affairs has taken a short-sighted approach to it and actually ignored exculpatory evidence and only had a one-path track.
But Mike, we're talking about 67.5% of fired SAPD officers get their jobs back. That is over the last decade, and it's something that, I mean, I believe San Antonio's certainly in the top 5 in the country in that. It can't all be the chief. I mean, we're talking about cases of, excrement sandwiches given to a homeless person. I mean, we're talking about some of the things that people at home see, and when they see this, they're thinking maybe things need to change.
And I'm not objecting to changes. I've said all along, I've said as the mayor and to the manager, that we're willing to sit down and deal with the type of changes that need to be made that are outside of Chapter 143, and make good positive changes that one of the community feels that they're getting a police force that actually is doing the job that they need to be doing and feel confident in that. We certainly want a piece of the contract that doesn't allow the chief to just fire you because he feels you need to be terminated, that may be over the top, or a political agenda might be involved in it. And certainly the city needs something that they can feel confident in, that they have good, solid police officers doing the work that they do every day. We're welcome to have that conversation at any point. And I will tell you that you'd be kind of hard pressed to find one policeman, that the excrement sandwich, the example that you brought, nobody wants that guy back on the department. But the chief dropped the ball on that case and didn't do things that he should have done that would have prevented him to come back on the department. So now, instead of taking responsibility for that failure, he turns around and he blames the contract and everybody else instead of taking responsibility for his actions. The conduct is over the top. It's egregious. He should have been terminated.
Conversations that definitely need to be had, and are certainly is not done here. We will have more with you, Mike, coming up tonight at 10 o'clock. Thanks so much for being with us. Mike Kelly, president of the San Antonio Police Officers Association.
And Mike, I really want to talk about some of those changes that you think need to be made, and we'll talk about that coming up on the Night Beat at 10.
Yeah, sure. Let's have them.
Thanks for joining us.
All
right, we'll be right back.
After months of being closed, the San Antonio Public Library is resuming partial services today. The reopening includes contact-free pickup services at all public libraries. People will be able to pick up reserved books or other materials. Book drops will also be functional again.
Limited computer use also available at these locations. Computer access will be by appointment only. It'll begin at 3 p.m. People will be limited to 1 hour, and each station will be disinfected after each use. You can find more information about all of these services on KSAT.com.
Look outside with live cam, 89 degrees out there. Definitely feeling that humidity today, Adam.
Yeah, it's thick, and that helped some of those downpours that popped up, especially on the west side of town. SeaWorld area, Alamo Ranch, they had some decent accumulations, and we do have some more rain chances coming down the pike. We're going to talk more about that along with Saharan dust coming right up.
Some people seeing a little bit of rain out there, kind of like yesterday, but it just feels like it ought to rain, Adam.
Yeah, it does. We have that mugginess that's in the air right now, and we're all noticing it. And it helped to really give a little extra kick to some of the downpours out there today. Speaking of downpours, take a look at this. Look at that, 1 inch in the gauge. That's Westover Hills area. That's always nice to see. And then we had a shower pass through Helotes, and look at that. Was going to go swimming, but random downpour stopped you. Well, no lightning with it, so in this case, you actually would have been all right in it. But still, I don't blame you for just sitting out waiting for the rain to pass on by. We had a nice alleyway of rain today between 35 and 37 northward up through the west side of Bexar County and into parts of the hill country. I mean, we're talking rainfall estimates on the range of about a ½ inch to an inch in some parts of town, especially the west side of San Antonio here, SeaWorld area southward along 1604 and even into 410 along Highway 90. Nice little accumulation there from some of those downpours. You head farther south, just outside of Tilden, over 2 inches estimated by the radar. Here's the past 2 hours. We had those showers flare up on the west side again. And there's that little shower that hit Helotes, the picture I showed you of the feet in the swimming pool with the little drops that you saw. Overall, this activity is coming to an end. We lose the daytime heating from the sun. We lose these showers. So that's all coming to an end. As for any big, large-scale disturbances out there, they're far from us. We're talking Pacific Northwest and over the southeastern United States. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the Saharan dust, the African dust that can affect us this time of year. And going forward in time, we do have a new article on this with more information on our website, KSAT.com. But by about this time next week, we could actually see a more significant basically surge in this dust. We're not really expecting much over the next 5 to 7 days, but by about day 7, 8, so about Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, that's when we could see a little more significant plume of that dust move into town. And sometimes that gives you runny eyes, a runny nose, or scratchy eyes. Anyway, we'll keep you updated on that situation. 93 tomorrow. After morning low of 72, a lot of sunshine. And yeah, we could have a few little pop-up showers again the next few days, but slightly better chances of that Friday through the upcoming weekend. Temperatures not changing much. For the most part, lower 90s, which is seasonable. That's average for this time of year. Steve Myra.
Thanks, Adam. We'll be right back. On-demand, in-depth perspective. That is the goal of a new KSAT show we are launching this Thursday, June 18th.
KSAT Explains is debuting with an episode focused on the unrest we've seen across the country. A look at how the protests and demonstrations have played out in our city and an examination of what it means to be black in San Antonio. For the first episode, we spoke to the co-founder of Weathered Souls Brewery, Marcus Baskerville.
His company kicked off a campaign against police brutality. Tonight, RJ Marquez with a preview of that.
And I've had experiences to where I've been riding through a neighborhood and been pulled over because I don't look like I belong there.
Weathered Souls Brewery co-founder Marcus Baskerville knows what it's like to be racially profiled. He recalls an experience he had when he was younger after he helped someone who had been stabbed at a party by taking him to a hospital.
We were basically treated as suspects of a crime, taken to the police department, held in a cell, handcuffed, all that type of stuff. And it's like, why? We legitimately saved this man's life. It's real. I mean, people that don't have to experience that every day, they'll never understand.
Baskerville is not surprised George Floyd's killing has sparked a national movement. He says it's long overdue.
People are fed up. We need change. We expect equality. And as far as that goes, if it's not given to you, we do come from a country where we have taken everything that we have. The whole Black is Beautiful platform is to highlight, the injustices and inequalities of people of color and to basically call upon the brewing industry, which has been great at supporting other causes.
He originally created the stout beer for one of the brewery's weekly releases, but spoke to the co-founder of an Austin brewery and felt the platform could have a larger reach.
I was trying to figure out a way as a Black business owner how I can put my best foot forward and assist with the message and the mission of equality.
Hundreds of breweries, some from as far away as Japan, Brazil, the Netherlands, and Germany, have signed on to brew Black is Beautiful. And the feedback from the San Antonio community has been overwhelmingly positive.
I think San Antonio has actually been really great as far as the acceptance of people of color dealing with certain backgrounds and certain professional positions.
Baskerville says he takes pride in being a Black business owner, but there are still hurdles people of color have to overcome to be treated equally and without prejudice.
And it is a serious issue, and it's not a political issue at this point. It's more of a humanity issue.
RJ Marcus, KSAT 12 News.
Weathered Souls Brewery will begin selling Black is Beautiful in July. Purchases will support the Know Your Rights camp, which was launched by former NFL player Colin Kaepernick. The other breweries participating in that campaign agreed to support an organization working toward equality or police reform. We are just 2 days away from the debut of KSAT Explains. We launch again this coming Thursday. This is a show streamed digitally, so you can find it on the KSAT TV app and on demand at KSAT.com.
All right, there's a quick look at the forecast, but let's look at temperatures right now. For the most part, we're right around 90 degrees, some upper 80s there, and lower 90s now. New Braunfels at 91, Castroville at 92. Temperatures, they're going to fall off gradually through the 80s and 70s, and I think we'll bottom out in the low 70s tomorrow morning, but you'll still notice the humidity. I mean, these dew points into the 60s, and they're going to rise a little bit more overnight tonight. So expect a morning low of 72, then 93 in the afternoon. A mixture of sun and clouds again. Yeah, the off chance of a stray pop-up shower the next few days, but even more so Friday through the upcoming weekend. Doesn't mean we're expecting anything widespread, just some of those little efficient downpours should develop.
All right, thanks, Adam. And thanks for watching the news at 6.
See you back here on the Night Beat at 10.